20-inch trout or more, and that wasn't happening for me in April. But now, on my birthday on the 28th, we caught a 20-incher on top water finally. So the big trout are finally starting to show up. Definitely a little scary there, because normally I start getting on trout in March. So definitely a delay. So I'm expecting May, this month, I'm expecting it to be very, very good for trout. Matter of fact, I've got 3 paddle tails and 3 topwaters rigged right now for tomorrow morning. Counting on getting on a trout bite tomorrow. So
you're gonna share what those are, since you have intrigued us. Well, what are we throwing tomorrow?
We got Chris is about to take notes because he's fishing on Saturday.
Yeah,
I'll send you pins.
I'll send you pins. 2 redfish. That's all I need.
Oh, I gotcha. We're throwing mirror mullets, the little ones, the 3-inchers.
Yeah.
All because my client brought his own and threw them yesterday and crushed them, so I had to go buy some today.
Can't beat that.
Skitter walk, and then a beer run, 3-inch on one, and the big ballers in a color that's written with a marker on a bag, so I don't think it's available yet. And then I put a Laguna shrimp, TRD shrimp on the other one. The pink Z-Man.
Yeah, the shrimp. Pinkish color. Yeah.
The Laguna ones they're pretty popular on our end too.
Yeah, so that's what we got rigged up. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. So, Captain Bob, what are you seeing as far as the changes go up there right around that North Carolina line, Cherry Grove, Little River area?
Well, obviously at this time of the year when the water starts warming up, everybody's going to be focusing on flounder, right? And I think before we got on here, we talked a little bit about the big flounder tournament that happened down in Murrells Inlet. That's kind of the kickoff of the season. And at that point, really, that changes the focus, especially for me too, because, it's a fun fish to catch. Water temperature is moving up. We do have the flounder starting to move in. Cherry Grove is really producing well. So for people that have inshore boats and can get in there, we've got some of our kayak friends that are fishing in there now as well. Really doing well with it. But so certainly May, kind of picking up that flounder bite. But again, for me personally, we're focusing on the black sea bass. We were doing that a little bit earlier as well, kind of gearing in for our grouper season. We want to make sure that we have the patterns correct and have the program right when we get out there, because you don't want to waste time. So we did a lot of that. And now that grouper season is here, hopefully we'll get the wind to calm down and Mother Nature can bless us with a couple of nice days inshore. I personally will not, the vessel that I'm running will stay, 20 miles and in. So I won't take it out beyond that. I like to keep it actually in radio range, but nonetheless, that's kind of what we're focusing on now.
Okay. Captain Jason, Captain Chris, what's going on in Murrells Inlet?
The flounder bite, I mean, it's pretty insane lately. You can go out there, great numbers, high numbers. I mean, you can catch, in a 4-hour trip, you can catch 50 flounder. Cool. Not all keepers, but it's steady action. Most of the trout are leaving for us. They'll come back in for the, new moons and the full moons and stuff like that, but still plenty of redfish, and I mean, big redfish too. So it's a great time, and I'm happy because flood tides.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So where are you seeing your flounder? Are they still in deep holes, or are they starting to move around a little bit?
I tell you, with these negative tides that we're having, I mean, there's no water, so anything deeper, but they're shallow too. I know, especially pulling the flats and all that. I mean, I'm sitting there looking down and seeing 20 of them go when I pull 30 feet.
Yeah.
What's your water temperature in Murrells right now?
You're low 70s.
Okay.
Yeah, we just broke 70, last week, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Which most of our bigger flounder are going to come in on the moon phases. So the fact that we've got a new moon going on right now, we've got, influx of females moving in, we're seeing some of the jetties. Like Chris was saying, I mean, flounder fishing for us it's as good as it gets right now. I mean, you're going to catch a lot of small ones, but the action's awesome. One of the things we've been doing, we've been starting, some of our trips off with live bait, almost getting them fired up, and then switching to, larger profile artificials and kind of, trying to cherry pick the bigger ones out of, the schoolies. But either way, it is nonstop fun action. I mean, it's something everybody can do.
What are you throwing? How deep is the water when you're jigging them like that?
So when I'm throwing, the little area that I fish a lot, it's about an 8-foot hole.
Yeah.
Water around it's 2 feet. Like if I back up too far, I literally will hit the bottom.
Yeah.
It's 2 flats. There's one flat behind me, one to my right. Falling tide, these fish just come off the flats, and I guess they just stage in this hole at low tide. It's one of the few places that has water. So about the time the tide starts falling, I've been throwing everything from Z-Man prawn star shrimp to, different paddle tails on the bottom. I know Chris could speak. He's been doing well on, some the big baller Z's. But odd things. I mean, last year I started tinkering around with, throwing like freshwater lures. Like I threw a white pearl goat, dragging on the bottom, which, I mean, it doesn't look like anything we have. And the flounder smacking it. I mean, violently hitting. The flounder's a bad rap for, they just pick it up and move, or, they tap. But I mean, for some reason, you throw those artificials, they don't hold back.
Yeah, I know. Last year I started throwing creature baits, from bass lures, anything like a rage crawl or any type of a creature bait. And I'll rig it on a jig head, but instead of putting those little flippers this way, I'll run it this way and make it look like little, a tail or fins or something. So yeah, man, the goat or any type of creature bait, it works fantastic jigging off the bottom.
Yeah, I've even put basically like a spinner bait, the Z-Man ones you can clip on with the jig heads. I've actually used the spinner baits with the goat, like you said, turning them sideways and dragging them on the bottom real slow, and had really good luck with bigger ones.
Dang.
Yeah. So moving from April to May, what are you guys seeing as far as your lure choices? I know in the springtime, like winter going into spring, it's usually smaller profiles. What are you guys starting to gravitate towards now going in to that later spring, maybe even early summer?
Definitely still throwing smaller baits. It all depends what the fish are feeding on. So like early morning, yesterday morning before the sun was up, there was little finger mullet and tiny grass shrimp popping from the redfish cruising down the bank. So I'm a match to hatch kind of guy, probably a lot like Chris. I know Chris does fly. And I definitely want to throw something similar. You can still throw big bait to get somebody's attention, but it just depends. When I'm fishing around pogie schools, schools of menhaden, which we got tons and tons of menhaden around now. They all showed up super, super thick, acres and acres of bait everywhere. That's when I'm going to step up and throw something a little bigger. So it just depends. For me, it's very situational based, not necessarily across the board, XYZ, here's what I'm throwing. I posted a picture of my magnet on my boat yesterday, and it was slam covered with every size bait that you could think of. And we caught fish on most of those baits because it's just, empty the tackle box and you can probably catch a fish on it in the right situation.
You seen any big pogies yet?
No, just smalls to mediums.
Yeah.
Little peanuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just saw peanut pogies for the first time. When, Chris, last week or this week?
Last week.
Last week's the first time I've seen them, which again that immediately changes our fish. Because Murrells Inlet's so small that changes our fish's diet immediately. It's like, hey, we got new friends in here.
Yeah,
we got something new to eat. It's like when you've been eating the same, chicken wings for a while, and all of a sudden somebody rolls out a pizza. You're like, oh, look, something different.
What's the size of those? Are those about 4-inch, or are they a little smaller?
Probably 3.
Yeah, that 2 to 4 inch range. There was a couple pods that came down the beach, and I mean, they were flip flops. They were 9-inch pogies.
Wow.
Dang.
Yeah. Okay, so guys, I know you're not this shy. Throw your questions into the comments and I'll get them out to here. I know we had a little bit of a glitch right at the beginning, but let me just run back through here real quick. We have 5 different captains on from all up and down the coast. Captain Bob is basically from the North Carolina line, Cherry Grove, Little River. And then we got Captain Jason and Captain Chris in Murrells Inlet. Captain Stephen Fluke is McClellanville, Georgetown area. And then Captain Tanya is down in Charleston. And I know you guys are down in Charleston quite a bit. So throw your questions in. If you got region specific questions, throw them in and I'll get them out here. But let's keep talking about redfish patterns. I was actually asked today, when do you guys see the redfish schools start to break up?
I mean, they're definitely, I mean, where I'm fishing have been broken up for some time. I mean, we're still finding on certain banks. I mean, you know, we're getting still potentially 20 plus, you know, fish on a 4-hour trip. But definitely, you know, those numbers aren't like, you're just not seeing them stacked like they were. And I think just in the last couple of weeks with the weather being a little more consistent, with being warmer, water temps getting up, you know, they've gone from being that kind of slow, lethargic to they're really starting to, you know, kind of focus in on baits and really smash them and start doing some of those really nice, hard, long runs.
When do they start to break up? Is that a water temperature thing?
Yeah, typically water temp. Yeah. And, you know, what our I guess late winter, early spring was so fluky because we kept having so many of those fronts coming through. We'd have a few days, you know, of a warming trend, but then you'd get slammed with you know, a cold front coming through, and it would just, you thought you had them figured out, and then, you know, the next day you're like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's get back. Everybody loves to talk lures and colors. And I know we've been kind of touching on it right now, but what are your top artificial lures going into May? If I walk on your guys' boats right now, what do you guys got on? Let's start with Captain Bob.
Okay, so on the inshore, we're throwing the Z-Man Prawn Star. Definitely like that. Now, I'll tell you one of the things I like about the Prawn Star, and for people that use it, you'll know this, but people that don't, it's a nice little bonus. The tail is kind of, I won't say perforated, but it's got like spaces in it. So you can actually expand that tail a bit and put your scent inside of those little grooves on the Prawn Star tail. That always helps. So you're going to find those on the boat. And again, where with our nearshore reefs and wrecks, a lot of artificial lure fishing. I do not like the black sea bass with fish for black sea bass with cut bait. We will do that. We'll pull a couple drifts until we locate them. As soon as we do that, we're going to drop big 2, 3, 4 ounce jigs, bucktails, 5, 6, 7 inch trailers on them to weed out, to get those big knobby heads. You know, of course, you want the big male black sea bass to what you're looking for. So that's pretty much what you're going to find on the boat at this time.
Okay. Captain Chris, give us your lures and give us a couple of flies too that you've got.
Yeah, no, lures, like we were talking before, I've been experimenting a lot with the Baller Z's, and same thing. It's got that perforated tail. Pro-Cure stays in there really well. Been doing great on flounder and redfish with those, and some trout. I'm a big voodoo fan. I love voodoo shrimp. I do throw the Prawn Stars every now and then, but our creeks lately have been just inundated with bluefish. So I've found that I get a couple more bites and a couple more casts out of voodoo versus a Prawn Star. Flies, I'm still throwing a lot of shrimp patterns. That's one of my favorites, and that'll go through most of the summer. So, and even like the Baller Z's, I had a flat strip, but it was a non-fly fishing one. So I've been experimenting with those with weightless hooks and just trying to figure out different ways, playing with a bunch of owners, just so it's not getting hung up in the grass. We're going to weedless, things like that. But as far as flies, once the flood tides really get going, I may throw a few crab flies, but I seem to get better bites and more consistency with the just a basic shrimp clouser pattern.
Yeah. So just to kind of almost go down a little bit of a rabbit hole, when you guys are at the cleaning table, do you guys open up the stomachs to see what these fish are feeding on? And if so, what are they feeding on right now? Captain Steven, I see you shaking your head. You're like, yep, absolutely.
Oh, you gotta see what they're feeding on, especially flounder. Those are really fun. I like kind of weirdly look forward to cutting the belly open on a flounder, because sometimes, like, normally they have baits in there, 5-6 inches long.
Yeah.
And then they still ate your bait, right after. So it's the craziest thing. A lot of flounder are like that, for me. But
yeah, you'll get an 18-inch flounder, and there's an 8-inch croaker in there.
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. They're eating a lot of croakers where we are.
Yeah.
And like you said, they're still hungry. That's the funny part.
Yeah.
It's like you might have a problem if you're completely so full you can't move and you're still trying to eat.
Yeah, and still trying to eat. Yeah, I was at Paulie's last year, and I was fishing around a grass line, and I was throwing a little 4-inch swim bait and hooked into a flounder. When I pulled him in, he had a mullet sticking out of his mouth. He had to be at least a 9-inch mullet. He couldn't even get it down. It was still sticking out, and he was still feeding. I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Yeah, they're just feeding machines. But okay, okay. So lures, natural baits, live baits. What are you guys throwing as far as live baits when you guys are heading out?
Live menhaden.
Live menhaden.
Yep. And then finger mullet are just now starting to show up. So once more of those show up, once the pogies aren't getting bit, then we'll throw some finger mullet out there. For rigging them, I like a 3/0 owner SSW hook, a split shot, and then I'll either fish it like that, kind of free line with a split shot, or we'll fish corks. And then the finger mullet, same way. Finger mullet, I free line mainly free line, and I'll tail or belly hook my finger mullet so they'll swim away from the boat. So then, if you nose hook a finger mullet, it'll swim right back to the boat all the time if you're free lining it. So tail hook it, it'll swim away and swim into the grass. And then normally it swims on the surface because it's got a tail in it. So it's a very visual eat when it gets eaten. So you'll normally get like a good blow up. It's pretty exciting, even though you're fishing live bait.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys wanted your first pro tip. There you go. Hook it in the tail. It swims away from you. There you go. Hey, I didn't know that. I thought once they were released back into the water, they'd be like, I'm changing zip codes. I'm getting away from this guy and I'm, swimming away, but I guess not.
No, mullet will make a big mess. If you throw your rod in a rod holder, it'll just swim in a bunch of circles and tangle everything up.
And that's why I'm not a charter captain, and I kayak fish on my big cork. So
it's funny because we do the opposite. We hook them all in the mouth.
Yeah,
but I mean we're fishing heavier weight. So we're slowly dragging back. I mean we're not free lining. We're not the current that we have. It's too hard. So most of it we're doing. It's a knocker rig. It's a drop shot. Any of those is what we're doing. We're slowly swimming it back.
But you're on the bottom. If you're bottom fishing, you cannot tail hook a mullet, or you will be casting birds' nests all day, right, Chris? Yeah. Yeah. So if you're bottom rigging, definitely want to nose hook it because there's a lot of current here in South Carolina. So just to clarify that, the tail hook is only for free lining and flats fishing situations where there's not, I'm not in a creek where the current's ripping my trolling motors on, speed 10 just to hold me still, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So maybe towards the bottom of the tide or the top of the tide when the current is kind of settled down a little bit, then you can free line those, around grass lines and whatnot. Is that what you're talking about?
Sure. I mean, not necessarily, but on if you're in a big flat somewhere, a big super long grass line, like in sort of a bay, where there's
Okay.
not tons of left to right kind of current.
Okay.
Just a mainly like a fall. The water level will fall, but you don't necessarily have like a strong current pulling you one way or the other. That's kind of what I'm talking about.
Makes sense.
Got my first question here. Is it worth the time getting mud minnows to use for live bait? Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate the question. Guys, I'll throw it out to you.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I every trip, just as a backup, they are always in the live well. You know, and you can jump that joker 1,000 times and it's still going to be alive.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
I think my record on the boat is 4 redfish on the same mud minnow.
What?
Dang.
Because they are hardy.
Wow.
I've lost some in my back spill well and find them the next day and they're alive. I'm like, how in the world did you live in a teacup of water? You know, but I agree 100%. Every time I leave the dock, I have mud minnows. That is my go-to. I use live bait with artificials to mix it up. A lot of times I'll use the smaller mud minnows to get the fish fired up and then come behind them with other things. But mud minnows are like on the boat every single day.
Yeah. So Anthony, if you never heard, that is a yes on the mud minnows. So
2 thumbs up on mud
yeah.
minnows.
And apparently from the southern tip of the state to the northern tip. So wherever you're at, mud minnow.
No matter where you're at. Exactly.
Get them with you.
Exactly. So
Captain Bob, do you ever catch grouper or sea bass on mud minnows?
No, sir.
Have
I'm
you
an
tried?
artificial guy, you know.
Okay.
I
Yep.
really am an artificial guy. No,
They work.
Menhaden, but I'm gonna try it.
You should. We've
I will
caught
say
some
this,
monster
mud minnows-
sea bass.
Mainly inshore, right? I'm
Yeah.
using the mud minnows inshore, of course. Flounder, you'd be crazy not to have them out there with you. But hey, listen, that's easy enough.
Yeah.
I'll send you a photo when we bring one over the rail
There
with a
you go.
mud minnow.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we progress into the deeper parts of May and the water temperatures start to come up a little bit more, how do you see these fishing trends starting to change, or will they change?
I think it's not, I don't know. For me, it's not really good. It'll be trout fishing through probably all the way through the end of June. Redfish. The redfish might slow. I might not catch as many reds, but then I'll be fishing for bull reds. The bull reds are starting to show up, so then I'll transition to those. I fished for those yesterday. Didn't have any luck, unfortunately, but any day they should start showing back up in the 5 to 20 foot depth range.
How big are your bull reds that y'all are getting down there?
Up to 45 inches.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Big ones.
Yeah, big ones. Yeah.
Yeah, solid. Captain Chris, are you seeing the same consistency through May?
Obviously, our trout, they'll be leaving. The full moon's the only time they're going to come back in. We'll have some resident fish, but I mean, it's tough for us to get a 45-inch redfish in our creeks. So, but I mean, there's still plenty of redfish in there. They're all singles. You know, you may get a double that's going to come through. I know they're not schooled up for us at all right now. Everyone's that I've been seeing, like 2 is the pair has been it. So that's the hard part. They're all over the place.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So guys, we're coming up on that 30 minutes and we've covered quite a few topics. So get those last couple of comments in or questions. And again, we did have a little technical glitch right at the beginning. So I have all of these guys' information in the description, their Instagram accounts, all of their, websites and how to book them for charters. And again, guys, if you take a trip somewhere and you guys want to get on fish, these are the guys to do it. You know, all the information is down there. Give them a ring, follow them on Instagram, and and I know that you can shoot these guys some questions. They're very responsive, so you can do that also. But guys, again, I'm going to throw it back out to the panel. You guys have any closing thoughts? We'll go around real quick. Captain Jason, what do you got? Closing thoughts?
May is a great month. May is the beginning of stability. I look at March and April as it's so unstable. You know, it's cold, it's hot, we're having a lot of wind, but May becomes stable. The air starts to become the same temperature as the water, and what happens is these fish start to form patterns and they stay true to the patterns. They're not in and out of these patterns. So I know for us, flounder, trout, redfish, like Chris said, our trout are kind of moving out. Flounder is amazing right now. Redfish for us, we catch a lot of redfish. We don't get the bull reds, but we'll get those in the fall. But it's just fun. And these fish are active, throwing artificial lures, stuff like that. You've kind of been creeping along all spring. Now you can speed up that retrieve a little bit. These fish are a little bit more aggressive. There's more bait. And there's more competition. So, there's a little bit more aggression. Get out there with those topwater lures at first light, last light. Don't be scared to fish the middle of the day. I mean, these fish are aggressive in May.
Yeah. Yeah. Captain Chris.
No, I agree with everything you said. The hard part now, it's like the afternoon blow. That's what you got to get out there early and, be ready to stay, put the time in, figure out the water. The greatest thing is, right now, the afternoon dead low tides. So you're sitting low and you can kind of hide out of the wind. So don't be scared to stay till after lunch. But yeah, fishing's good and it's only going to get better and better. I'm excited.
Captain
for it.
Steven down in McClellanville, closing thoughts.
I like what Jason and Chris said. We're starting at 5:45 in the morning with top water. So get out early. I really like that. Whatever morning tide we have is my favorite for me, is where I've found the most success and caught the most fish up to this point. And normally that's the pattern I'll stay on. That's it. Just be loaded for action. Go raid the tackle store and load up.
I'm going to be there on Saturday. So yeah, thank you. Yeah. Captain Bob up there in North Carolina, Little River, Cherry Grove.
So Captain Jason touched on this a bit, but May is an exciting time of year, especially up this part, because not only does the inshore fishery really start to pop, offshore things start to happen. Of course, flounder is huge for us here. Right now, the flounder bite is great. Getting ready for grouper, that started today. They're always active. And of course, we have cobia that's starting to move in too. So May is just an absolutely great month. A lot of choices and a lot of things that you can do. So if you have the opportunity to get out, do not sit on the couch, get out and go fishing.
Absolutely. Down in Charleston, Captain Tanya.
Well, I'm following up, four guys here that really know what they're talking about. The only thing I'm going to just chime back in on is I absolutely think if you have been, scared or maybe throwing a topwater bait, don't you? This is the month to try it, because I can guarantee you, if you get your butt out of bed and get out there before the sun comes up and you start working a topwater bait, you're going to get bit. The first time you get that redfish on topwater, to me, I think is one of the most epic eats you'll ever get to witness. So get your butt off the couch.
And how do you follow that up? I mean, get your butt off the couch, guys. Get out there and do some fishing. May is absolutely fantastic. We're going to go ahead and end it here. So, guys, don't jump off the line. I want to talk to you real quick after we end this. But I'm going to end it how I usually end it, and that is conservation starts with you. Release a fish for someone else to enjoy. And, guys, we will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. You guys have a great day, great night, and get out there and do some fishing. Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all.